So you've looked left and right and up and down and have scrolled endlessly for hours in search and applying to multiple jobs. And yeah, job hunting sucks.
Hey, I'm Annie, and let's become lucid together. So this will be about how job hunting sucks. I mean, not only do you use a lot of your time, but the possibility of rejection looms in the future. Because if you do get an interview, which, speaking of interviews, be sure to check out the other video on the #1 tip for interviews. But back on track, if you do get an interview, it doesn't guarantee that you'll get the spot. And so here are 3 tips on how to make the process / job hunting a little less sucky. Tip number 1, you only need one. So here's a little story / time. So back in college, when I was seriously applying to jobs, I had this friend, and you probably have a friend similar to this, but they were the epitome / are the epitome of success. You know that they made their parents proud, right? And so you can't help / I can't help but to compare, because here I was thinking / believing that I wasn't enough because I was putting in all of this work and nothing was churning out. And here my friend was, showcasing their success. And the funny thing is, later on I found out through a Facebook status post that they too had a bunch of rejections and failures that, wasn't showcased. What we saw was the tip of the iceberg, but underneath the current, underneath the ocean, we didn't see any of the failures or the rejections or any of the things that made them feel inadequate, right? And so the feeling of being unworthy / not being enough is a super normal feeling. So when we're talking about you only need one, what we're talking about too is that there are multiple paths to take to get to that one destination, right? And all you need to do is find that one. And I think that's super hopeful, because that means there are multiple solutions to that one problem, right? And so in order to increase your chances of, getting that dream job / that job, what you have to do is you have to keep on applying. Because when you do that, that means you're creating more paths. And remember, you only need that one path. Tip number 2, learn from your L's / learn from your rejections. Because you're creating more paths, that means you're bound to fail. And what I like to do personally, because I'm a little bit of a weirdo, is that I like to make / keep a list of my failures and rejections. And I'm not saying that you should as well, but what I am saying is that you should learn to reframe what rejection means. Because when it comes down to it, rejection boils down into 2 things. One is not being the right fit, and the second is not the right timing. Or maybe it's a third, which is the combination of the 2. And I'll cover this more in a future video, but know that the feelings of rejection / failures will inevitably make you feel really shitty. But what I will say is, keep in mind the reason of rejection / failures, right? They're not about you per se, but they're about those 2 elements of being the right fit / the right timing. And with the timing, it's hard to control that, but with being the right fit, that one you could kind of control. What that might look like is that maybe instead of, you being stuck on that company, maybe look for other companies that feel to be a better fit, or maybe mold yourself to be a better fit, right? Maybe ask for feedback. And so that's one of the ways in which you can navigate that realm, right? Know what you can and can't control. So rejections can be a really good teacher and can allow for redirection, right? Because if you fall, you get back up and you might pivot, right? Instead of doing something the way you've done it before, maybe change it up a little bit. And so in that way, change the way that you view rejections / change how you view taking an L, if you will. So tip number 3, the snowball effect. So a while back, my friend and I were talking and we came up with this thing called the snowball effect, right? And it's this notion that there's this small baby snowball and with a push, it keeps on growing, right? And so what we're talking about in tip number 3 is, while it's easy to want to give up and to just lie around and do nothing / just be really sad about everything that's happening, tip number 3 says keep going, right? Because in physics, not that I studied physics or anything, but where, you know, motion creates more motion, and so why you want to be that moving snowball is the fact that clarity comes from action, right? Because it's easier to keep going if there's movement, if there's motion, but it's hard if you're stagnant, right? And so that's tip number 3. Be a moving snowball. So those are the 3 tips / things to remember when you're job hunting. One is you just need one. And that just talks about multiple paths and you just need that one path. The second one is, you know, learn from your L's / reframe the way you think about rejections, right? And the third tip is the snowball effect, right? Keep going. Anyways, thanks again for watching this video. If this was at all helpful, please do consider the following: liking / sharing / subscribing, because that really means a lot and that shows me that people actually find these tips useful. Yeah, so that's the 3 tips, and in the meantime, keep on shining and strive for lucidity. And see you around for the next videos, again, whenever that might be. Maybe sooner than later, but we'll see. And bye.